This week we're going to continue our discussion about keeping kosher. Another important aspect of keeping kosher is the separation of milk and meat. The Torah prohibits the mixing of milk and meat together. On the most basic level, this means simply not to cook milk and meat together or eat products which have milk and meat cooked together. An example of that would be pepperoni pizza or a cheeseburger, strictly prohibited by Jewish law. There is something different about milk and meat as opposed to other kosher law, which is that milk and meat products, not only may you not eat them, but you can't derive any benefit from them at all, which means you can't sell a product which has milk and meat mixed together. Another important principle about kosher is that not only are the products which are non-kosher prohibited, but if it were cooked in a dish or in a pot, that pot or that dish also becomes disqualified from use because it absorbs from the non-kosher product. However, there are ways in most cases that the dish can be rehabilitated and made kosher again. For this reason, it's important to keep two sets of dishes in a Jewish home. You need a dairy set of dishes and a meat set of dishes, because a dairy dish cannot be used to serve meat or to cook meat because it would absorb from the meat, thereby mixing milk and meat. Same is true the other way. A meat dish cannot be used to serve dairy products because then it would, again, mix the milk and the meat. In many homes you will find also that there are separate sinks. There is a dairy sink and a non-dairy sink. Some people go so far as to have a dairy stove and a meat stove, dairy ovens and meat ovens. What happens if non-kosher products were used in a kosher kitchen, in a kosher dish? A knife was used on a non-kosher product. There are ways to kosher that dish. The general principle would be that in the same way that the dish absorbed it, it would take the same to expel that non-kosher product. It is generally through heat that dishes absorb food. So therefore, if a pot was used to boil non-kosher food or mixed milk and meat together, one would have to boil up that pot again with water in order to release that non-kosher product from the pot, and then it would become kosher again. It's most advisable to consult a rabbi or to have a rabbi come and do it, but it can be done. To kosher a dish which was used with hot liquid, either through cooking or just your soup plate, one would boil up a pot of hot water, boiling water, and dip the plate into the water, into the boiling water. That would kosher that utensil. To kosher an oven or a frying pan or a roasting spit, one would have to heat it until it becomes red hot in order for it to release its non-kosher product. Another detail about treating dishes. New dishes that are purchased, or if you haven't done so yet, even if they're not new, need to be taken to the mikveh and dipped, toveled in the mikveh, dipped in the mikveh. So to sum it up, meat and dairy must be kept separate. They have to be eaten in separate meals. If you start a meal with dairy, you don't eat meat in the same meal. As a matter of fact, there is a certain period in between the time that you eat a meat meal during which you should not eat dairy. There are different customs regarding this. Some have a custom for 1 hour in between, some 3, and prevalent is 6. There is a 6-hour waiting period between a meat meal or a meat dish and a dairy meal. There are certain things which are called parav, which means neutral. They are neither dairy or meat. Those can of course be eaten with either meat or dairy. There are many ways in which it's simple and easy to keep a kosher kitchen, but it's beyond this show to be able to go through all of them. Be in touch with a rabbi, somebody who knows the details, to help you out.